Good evening. It's 5:30 p.m. and I'm going to call our open session to order. Our first item is public comment for closed session items only. We do not have anyone in attendance personally for comment. Do we have anyone on email? And that's, why don't we,
We didn't have any
Okay.
as of about
Yeah.
30 minutes ago.
yeah, so why
we'll
don't
just
we
double
go
check.
to move ahead to roll call and then I'll circle back to see if we had any email comments on closed session items only. No, and the answer is already here. Nope, no comments on closed session items only. So Linda, when you're ready, we'll do roll call.
Trustee Edmondson. Here. Trustee Friedman.
Present.
Trustee Donley.
I am here.
Trustee Rodriguez.
Here.
Trustee Jackson North.
Here. All right, thank you. Now we're going to convene to closed session. Off we go. Hi, good evening, everybody. Thank you for being here. I'm sorry we're not as punctual as I would like, but we are here. We're ready to go. And we're going to bring our open session to order, and it is 6:40 p.m. We are going to begin our open session with the Pledge of Allegiance, which is led by a student from Soquel Elementary School. And we have Principal Witter here to introduce our student.
All right, well, Superintendent Turnbull, Board, Cabinet, thank you for having us. So for Soquel Elementary, we have Killian Kesting, who's going to be doing the pledge and the mission statement reading.
Stand. Place your hand on your heart. Ready? Begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Soquel Union Elementary School District Mission Statement. Staff, students, parents, and the community share the responsibility for each child's success. We are committed to ensuring that each student develops the skill and confidence for lifelong achievement and is prepared to make a positive contribution to our world.
Great. Thank you so much. Hey, Killian, if it's okay with you, are you comfortable coming back up? Because I have a certificate for you. Hi, is it okay if I read it out loud first before I hand it to you? Okay. So the District Board of Trustees present the certificate of recognition for our student Pledge of Allegiance leader and mission statement reader. Killian Kesting is a thoughtful and engaged student. He particularly enjoys math and reading, but he approaches all opportunities to learn with an eagerness that is quite remarkable. He is quick to share a fact or piece of research that he learned from one of his books. He is quite tech savvy and enjoys expressing his creativity through coding. While he's not at school, Killian is an avid sailor and enjoys spending his time on the water. He's even competed in many sailing regattas. Killian is a model student who makes all of us at Soquel Union Elementary School District very proud. Thank you for letting me read that. I'm happy to give that to you. Great. I just got Killian's permission for us to ask him a few questions. Members of the board, if you have any questions for Killian.
Well, I'm quite impressed that you're a sailor. Have you sailed outside of Santa Cruz?
Yeah, I've sailed in San Francisco, Redwood City, and I've also sailed in Berlin. We still live there.
Wow, that's quite impressive. Now, when you went from here up to San Francisco, did you sail or did you sail to San Francisco?
I sail an 8-foot boat, so we drove up there and I competed in a regatta there.
Okay, wow, that is very impressive.
So Killian, you're a fifth grader. What are you most excited about for middle school?
I don't really know, but I think it's mainly just going to a new school, which will be very interesting.
Yeah. Any other questions, Board?
I wanted to ask you about your coding. Any particular programming languages or projects that?
Well, I mainly use Scratch. I want to do a Python coding course in the summer. It's very cool.
Thank you for coming. It's not easy getting up in front of everybody and doing this and then answering questions after. So give yourself an A+ for that. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Thanks.
Great job. Really great job.
Let's try to get this.
Okay,
Can
we
get
have a
photos?
tradition where we.
You're not done.
One more thing.
If it's okay with you, Killian, and you're in charge, you call the shots. If it's okay with you, we'll take a picture together. If not, just shake your head. Up to you.
It's like he's in.
Okay, all right.
I'm gonna brag about this student really quickly. Killian came to us not speaking a word of English at SoCal Elementary. And he just has captured all of our hearts. He's also our top runner for our SoCal Elementary Running Club for 3 years straight. So I just wanted to add that.
Okay, thank you again. All right.
And we can use that, right?
Okay, moving on for our agenda, the next item is adoption of the agenda. Do we have any corrections that need to be noted to the adoption before we make this motion?
We did have one addition to items. Let me find the right items here. Linda, can you help me remember which items those were?
It was 10A, 10B. And the action items, there were the signature pages.
10A and 10B, there were two, to the attachments, there were two signature pages missing, which have now been added.
Okay, and the board has copies of those, and those are on the website.
Mhm.
Okay, with those corrections, do we have an adoption of a motion to adopt the agenda?
I'll move. Carolyn.
Carolyn, and a second?
I'll second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Next item, report out of closed session. The board met in closed session and we don't have anything to report. On to item 4, recognitions. We have a recognition of our 2022 Santa Cruz County Math Contest and participants for 5th through 8th grade students. And I believe Principal Broadhurst is here to assist us with that. Yeah, just stepped out.
Okay. all
Oh,
right.
okay, you got it. Can we move on to
Sure.
our
Circle back to that.
our
one.
public hearing item? All right. All right, so, okay, just scrolling to that. Next item is a public hearing for the CSEA Chapter 388 Collective Bargaining Agreement Proposal.
All right, good evening, board. I'm happy tonight to do a public hearing for CSEA. An agenda item later this evening will be the board's consideration for the tentative agreement with CSEA for the 21-22 school year. And when we concluded those negotiations, we wanted to immediately open for the 22-23 school year. And they've presented their articles that they're opening with. And with that, we would like to open up the public hearing.
Okay, gonna open up the public hearing. 6:48. And would anyone like to speak on this item? The collective bargaining agreement proposal for CSEA. And do we have any comments or for the public hearing on email?
We do not.
Okay. Okay, I'm not hearing any comment on, this is on the item, this is a public hearing on the classified staff, so CSEA collective bargaining agreement. Is there anyone for a comment on that one for the public hearing? I'm not seeing any, and we didn't have any emails, so I'm going to go ahead and close the public hearing at 6:49. I think I saw Principal Broadhurst, so sorry. If you are ready to go back to our recognition item, we'll go back to item 4A. Yes.
We knew you had business detentive.
Sorry about that. We had some visitors on the roof.
Yeah, never boring.
All right, so we're going to recognize the New Brighton students who represented our school at the county math competition. And I've seen 3 of them. I don't know if all of them are here, so I'll just call them up. And students, when I call your name, please come on up. So we have Toma Rasovianu from 6th grade. Is Toma here? We have Amin Rezki, also 6th grade New Brighton Middle School. I didn't see Amin yet. And I've seen Ian Malakowski is here from 6th grade. Come on up, Ian. And I know that our 7th grade students are here. So Russell Riddick, could you come on up, please, Russell? Kai DeSell, 7th grade also. Coming up, Kai. And Olivia Potes, could you come on up also, 7th grade? I do want to say that I'll make sure these other students get their certificate, but our 7th grade team of Russell, Kai, and Olivia actually placed 2nd in the team competition. And I think so it's a credit to all their teachers from kindergarten on up to where they are right now. So thank you, teachers.
Yes. Thank you, Mr. Broadhurst. And then we have Principal Witter, who's, if you guys don't mind hanging out up here for another minute, we're going to present some certificates to the 5th graders who participated as well. And then maybe we're willing to get a group picture. Oh, yeah.
So how was it? What was it like? Okay.
All right, and we have 4 superstars from Soquel Elementary also. So they are, it's the same thing. Please come up. Cougars, when I say your name. Betsy Garcia Chavez. And backup is Killian Kesting. And Jocelyn McCahill, if she's here. Okay, and she'll get it afterwards. And then Esme Walton.
Well, congratulations. Really, really. Any questions for the pictures? If it's okay with you all, we'd love to take a picture with you and your certificate. So if you're comfortable with that, come on up. We'll do a picture. If not, that's okay too.
Just line up right here.
We talk a lot about consent in my house.
Right.
Yeah, Mr. Broadhurst and Mr. Witter, you're coming on in. Perfect. Thank you. All right, great work, guys. Thank you guys for coming. All right, moving on in the agenda. Next is our consent agenda. Board, do I have a motion to adopt and approve the consent agenda?
I'll make the motion.
Okay, I'll second. Carolyn. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay. All right. So now we're at public communications. In addition to speaking in person, the board has channels available for email before the meeting because the meeting is before or during the meeting because the meeting is live streamed. I'll read our little blurb about public communications, which is also on the agenda. Members of the audience are welcome to address the Board of Trustees during public communications regarding items not listed on this agenda. For items that are not on the agenda, we request that you fill out one of the forms available at the sign-in register and submit it to the executive assistant to the superintendent prior to the opening of the meeting. 3 minutes may be allotted to each speaker and a maximum of 20 minutes to each subject matter. The trustees cannot take action on these matters unless such matters are placed on a future agenda according to law. If the item is on the agenda, you will have the opportunity to speak at the time the agenda item is discussed. Please address the board president. These proceedings are video recorded. Board members shall hold the education of students above any partisan principal, group interest, or personal interest. Okay, all that being said, I have a few public comment cards. Thank you all for being here. Our first card, if they're comfortable going first, is to Cassidy Siebert and Sibri Khalsa.
Hello, I'm Cassidy Siebert and I'm in 6th grade. I am Sibri Khalsa and I am in 4th grade. I go to New Brighton Middle School and I've learned so many new things here. The teachers are absolutely amazing and inspire me to shoot for the stars every single day. They go out of their way to make sure we are happy and supported. I have learned not only academics, but extracurriculars that will help me through high school and college. For example, Spanish or health that provide me extra facts to get me ready for the real world. Every single one of our teachers makes a safe and fun learning environment. My mom is also a teacher and she works so hard for me and my sister. Although she can support me, she has to work a second part-time job to do so. To conclude my part of the speech, I think a teacher's job is very important for academic learning and they should have a higher salary for their amazing work they do.
To add on, I go to Main Street and for the whole year I've wanted this one teacher for 5th grade. And now I'm worried I might not get her because other school districts pay higher. My mom is the head of FOMS and she works so hard and I know the teachers and staff work even harder. So I think they should get paid just as much as they work, if not more. Thank you for your time.
Thank you both. All right. Our next speaker is Portland from SEA.
Hi.
Hello.
I wasn't planning on speaking, so I apologize if this riff is a little discombobulated. My goal is not to speak of specifics, but just to kind of present color to the character of the people that are working in this community. I've always kind of been an all over the place kind of person. Sorry if I get emotional. And when I interviewed for this job, I was in my car driving from San Diego to my parents' house, stuck in traffic. And it was this kind of funny thing, like doing a video interview in the car. And it turned out I took the job because it was the first job that was offered to me. I landed here and it's been like the best 6 years of my entire life. And like being rooted in a community as an individual that's usually kind of flittering here and everywhere else. Is something that's a very new concept to me and that I so deeply love and appreciate. And even like turning to look in the audience for 2 seconds to like see like parents of students that I've had across all different kinds of disciplines, and working with the population that I work with presently and prior to doing 2nd grade for a moment. Those relationships are a little more intimate. Students need a little bit more help and parents need a lot more help. And pouring myself into this community, I think luckily for whomever the powers that are, like I'm married to the ocean and quality of life for me is far supersedes pay. But like I feel it this year. It's the first time ever where I've been like, oh man, I can't just like cruise along and diligently be kind of fiscally responsible and get by. It's like I have to be darn careful. And so also to say like one of the biggest things for me as a professional is learning to assume positive intent. And so my stance and goal is not to say like, give us this, we need this, but it's like, a lot of us can't stay here because we need this. And so all I'm asking is like with authenticity of character and request, like please for us, like whatever you can do. And I trust that that is that, but like I will not go anywhere, but I don't want to have to struggle so hard. And like I adore all the people that I work with. I adore the community that I live in. And yeah, like it's befuddling to me that I've become so attached to a place when I thought of myself as an individual that's kind of not that way. And it's really beautiful and I appreciate it. And I would love to be able to carry that on and see all the students that I've worked with. Like yesterday, I wasn't gonna go surfing and I had like 5 kids that I've worked with, like, Mr. P, are you gonna get in? And it's like, I never thought that Mr. P would be an endearing term, right? Like my name's Portland, call me Portland. And at this point, it's like, well, okay, my name is also Mr. P. So I want to keep it that way. And thank you all very much for your time.
Yeah. Okay, and our last speaker form is for Kelly Moore. Yeah, thank you for, nice.
I know a lot of you from when our son was sick, and I just wanted to tell you thank you for everything you've done for our family and for everything you continue to do. I really believe in this district, and I think we're doing great things here. I've been a classroom teacher for 21 years, and I know from my experience, the number one thing in any district is continuity of staff. You can run as many programs as you want. If you don't have the same people implementing those programs, it's all for nothing. And that's why I think attracting and retaining quality teachers should be the number one priority for this district. And the reason I say should is because from looking at your past budgets, it's really clear to me that it's actually not with the money that you've been given in the past. You know, despite the fact that the district has the biggest budget you guys have ever had this year, you are paying your teachers less than you were 2 years ago, when your total budget was 18% smaller than it actually is this year. You're spending 9% less unrestricted money on teachers this year than you did 2 years ago. That's kind of a head scratcher to me. And I'm sure you guys saw the May revise, and that was great news. And everything you put out in your budget was before the May revise, right? I'm sure you saw Governor Newsom say, this is the most money ever for public education in California next year. The biggest COLA ever for public education next year, 6.56%. I know declining enrollment is a huge concern for you guys, and I'm sure you saw the 3 different options that are going to take the edge off every single school district's declining enrollment numbers here that you have. So it's going to complete sea change, but you don't even need that. You guys have a 16.2% reserve schedule for next year. $500,000 of that is from this year. In fact, this year you are budgeted to have almost a $4 million unrestricted budget windfall. I know the multi-year projection is actually a challenge for a lot of districts. You look to the future like, yeah, but in 3 years, but I have to say, and this is, by the way, in no way unique to this district, your public budgets have a long history of way under projecting revenue. Way under projecting revenue. In 2021, if you don't know, in 2021 at the budget, you predicted that we were going to have 8.3% less money in LCFF. We ended up, and unaudited actuals for that year was 7.3% more money. That's a $4 million under projection. Where did that $4 million go? Not to the certificated salaries line. In the multi-year projection from last year, from March, for this year, you said you were going to have $13.9 million in unrestricted and 19.5 in restricted. It turned out to be 17.4 and $24.7 million. That's a $3.5 million and $7 million under projection. None of that money went to certificated salaries. So I'm a history teacher, that's what I've always been. And I know that the best predictor of future behavior is past behavior. And so when I'm looking at your multi-year projection that just came out, your last one from this March, when you tell me you're going to have 11% less LCFF money and 25% less revenue next year, that's what your multi-year projection says, that's hard to believe. And especially now with the May revise here, that's really hard to believe. I mean, really there's only three possible reasons why your revenue goes down that much. Massive declining enrollment, which we now know you've got all kinds of ways to mitigate. Massive less money, which we know the governor just said is the most money ever. It's the biggest increases ever. And so when that unexpected windfall does hit next year, that money's got to go nowhere but in certificated salaries. We have to get caught up. If we don't spend that money on attracting, retaining, and quality teachers, whatever we do with the rest of the money, it's just going to be wasted. You got the money, now's the time to put it where it needs to go. Thank you.
Thank you. That was our last public comment card. All right, thank you all for the in-person public comment. Do we have any email public comments?
We do not.
We do not. Okay, all right. Thank you all. Next, we do move on through the agenda to our standing reports. And we're going to start with items from our assistant superintendent, and we'll begin with business.
All right, good evening, board again. Hope everyone's doing well this evening. Mainly for me, these last couple of weeks have just specifically been prepping for the budget for 22-23 and working with Dr. Kiernan on the LCAP for 22-23 and what I'm working on currently, which is payroll, which needs to get done. And later in our agenda, we do have the hopeful adoption by the board for our tentative agreement with CSEA. So we've been working with them and I'm really excited to present that to the board this evening. So, thank you.
Thank you. Dr. Kiernan?
Okay, well, I am going to reserve my comments for tonight. Thank you.
I'll just have a few quick comments. We attended the last open house last week at New Brighton, which was wonderful. We were able to attend all of the open houses. And so thankful to have the in-person experience to see parents and teachers coming together to celebrate the school year. Last week, I was able to attend Santa Cruz Gardens Sage Garden presentation by the 5th grade students, Mr. Boyce, Principal Lemos, and many others who contributed. And it was just wonderful to hear all the students lead that presentation and official opening of the Sage Garden, a great legacy project. On the COVID front, just a few quick notes. Of course, we are starting to see cases tick back up just a little bit. So we're really trying to be mindful of all of our end of the year celebrations and trying to avoid especially any large indoor gatherings as we work to safely make it through the end of the school year. And as was mentioned, the governor's May revise to his proposed budget was very hopeful for future years. As was previously mentioned, many factors, but the key ones including the proposed COLA increase and then the increase addition to the LCFF base in addition to the COLA, as well as mitigation for declining ADA and enrollment, all great news for future years. So that's it for me.
Okay. Thank you. Next, we'll go on to items from trustees. And without going further, I would like to officially welcome our newest trustee, Callie Edmondson. Welcome officially to the table. We swore Callie in at our last meeting after our interview process. So officially welcome. Happy to have you on board. It was a late one last time. So when all was said and done and we did the swearing in, it was a lot. So glad to have you here. Since I'm talking, I'll go ahead and just start with my own report. I'm really sorry. I did. Go ahead. Thank you for pointing that out. Let's go ahead and roll back and we'll go to CSEA. My apologies. No problem.
So our union president, Enrique Domo, could not be here, but he wanted me to let you know that he would have loved to be here. He is covering the New Brighton boys volleyball playoff game. I, however, my name is Mandy Lopez, and I have just been recently elected for the CSEA union treasurer. I have been with the district since 2014. I work at Main Street as a behavior intervention aide and absolutely love my job. I and the CSEA members support the SEA and their request for negotiations.
Thank you. Again, my apologies for going too
You're
fast down
all
the
good,
line.
Amanda, no worries.
And items from SEA.
Great, thank you. Our Board of Trustees, Superintendent, Assistant Superintendents, member of the public, thank you guys all so much for being here. Really appreciate all the shows of support. First off, I just wanted to wish from distance, happy birthday to Enrique Domo. It was his birthday yesterday. I don't know if he wanted me to share that to people, but that was the case. I won't say how old he is. No, so SEA, honestly, this week has been a quieter week in terms of broad SEA. We didn't have a general meeting this week. We haven't had site meetings over the last couple of weeks, but we have had a decent chance to digest the May revise. Really, really excited about that. You know, like has been stated by Scott and by Kelly, there's a big windfall coming. We have the highest cost of living adjustment, I think, ever in state history, 6.56%. We have a LCFF base grant augmentation of $2.1 billion. There's ADA mitigation that takes the edge off of that enrollment ADA hit. So just so excited for the May revise. I mean, it's everything in my wildest dreams. So yeah, my dreams are weird. And then finally, we have negotiations coming up with the administration tomorrow. I'm really, really looking forward to that and how the May revise plays into those. So that's it for SEA today. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. All righty. I'll go back since I was starting to blab. As for myself, things I have done in the last couple of weeks, I regret that I can't attend every event. I wish I could. I was able to attend the Santa Cruz Gardens open house as a parent, and my child was not having me go anywhere else besides his classroom. So I did not get to see much beyond my child's classroom, but I appreciate that. Got to enjoy going to every classroom at New Brighton Middle School though. And it's really nice to be able to go through in person again. So my appreciation to the staff for having those open doors. Also, could not attend the kickoff for the Sage Garden, but I really got to enjoy going there this weekend with my family, and it was so great. We had a smartphone with us, and I hadn't realized, I think we always have a phone, but the QR codes next to every plant where you then get to scan and read all the identifying information about the plant in the student's own voice who did the research on the plant. It's really an incredible project, and I would encourage anyone to go up to the gardens and check out the Sage Garden right up in the very front of the campus. And that's it for me. You want to go down the line? Or Billy?
I have nothing to report.
Okay.
Sound like a couple of great weeks there, 2 weeks, open house and the Sage kickoff. Unfortunately, I was unable to attend. It's out of town, but sounds like I said, sounds like a great event.
I was able to attend the Santa Cruz Gardens and New Brighton Middle School open houses as a parent, so I wasn't able to see all the classrooms, but it was great to see all the projects and lessons that have been going on. So it was a really nice experience to be able to do it in person after so long.
I went to the Main Street open house, the SoCal Elementary Carnival. That was wonderful to see all the families and the teachers. I went to the Sage Garden at Santa Cruz Gardens Elementary and saw their presentation. That was really cool. And then the Main Street had a field trip today. We took the first graders up to Blue Ball Park, so I volunteered for that.
Thank you, everyone. Move into our presentation and discussion items. So item 9A is our discussion regarding racial justice and educational equity.
Thank you, Board President. Yesterday was a really important day on our equity journey as we built off so much of the work that's been done the last 2 years. We engaged in our first of what we hope will be many equity walks. And it was at New Brighton Middle School just yesterday, right here. I want to express my deep appreciation for the New Brighton teachers and staff for allowing us to visit classrooms as a part of the equity walk. I know the deep work that we have done with our racial justice task force, administrative council, and governance team laid the proper foundation of knowledge to make these walks productive and meaningful. Yesterday's team was led by Nicole Anderson and Shelley Holt, who have conducted many of these walks in schools around the state and the country. Members of the team for the equity walk yesterday included the following: Carlo Albano, the MBIT lead, Barbara Hubner, our ELD TOSA, Brian Koch, our counseling coordinator, Sandy Figueroa, our personnel coordinator, Jackie Gomez, our assistant for educational services, George Lopez, our technology coordinator, Steve Cartwright, our facilities manager, Christina Hadrius, New Brighton's assistant principal, Craig Broadhurst, New Brighton's principal, Chris Olamos, Santa Cruz Gardens principal, Eric Olson, student services coordinator, Jessica Kiernan, our assistant superintendent of educational services, and myself. I was very appreciative of the team because it represents a great cross-section of the district with many different perspectives. Also, all of the participants have been a part of our foundational equity training the past 2 years, either as a member of the Racial Justice Task Force, administrative counselor, and in some cases both. Yesterday's equity walk was a perfect way to pull all of our learning into a student-centered practice. The primary purpose of equity walks are to develop and sharpen the equity leadership lens and allow the gathering of observational data to confirm or challenge assumptions regarding the focus on closing equity gaps for targeted student groups. In other words, the day was for us to use the Equity Walk tool developed by Nicole Anderson with a focus on 4 areas: cultural identity, relationships, relevance, and rigor. We use this tool for our practice, not to judge anything we observed or assign value to it. We've been able to sharpen our equity lens first and foremost, and that was what yesterday was all about. That was our main goal. As we walked through classrooms and around the campus, we narrowed our focus to look for evidence of equitable practices. One straightforward example of the sort of item we were looking for was under the area of cultural identity, and that was imagery that reflects class diversity. We broke into 3 smaller groups yesterday with a focus so that each group could focus on a particular area and really narrow that lens and focus. It was a full day. It went by really fast. And the best part was the rich discussion with our colleagues. It was invigorating to have these discussions with our small groups and then back together with the larger group. While we refrained from passing judgment or assigning value, I do have to say, I do want to share with you that there were many examples of equitable practices. And one in particular was the New Brighton Library led by Michelle Jesberg. Each of the small groups separately that participated yesterday went through the library, and each group identified the library specifically as an area of equity success or an equity win. Books representing diverse cultures and gender inclusiveness are abundant in the library, and many are displayed so as to be front and center. The fact that Ms. Jesberg herself has been an integral member of the Racial Justice Task Force and could readily discuss that extra funding was provided by the board and the district specifically for books promoting inclusiveness resonated and showed that we are taking tangible action along the way of our equity journey, and that members from all parts of the organization are making contributions to the district's quest for equity. As I said, as a next step in our equity journey, we hope to use yesterday's equity walk as a jumping off point to use this tool at all of our schools in the future. We have members of the team that participated in the equity walk here today. So if any of them would like to add anything to my description, please feel free to do so before we turn it over to the board for questions and discussion about the equity walk experience.
Thank you. I'll see if there are any questions or comments from the board, and then if anyone ruminates and wants to throw anything in, I'll open it up as well. Questions, comments from the board?
Could you just mention the 4 categories again?
Yes, it was cultural identity, relevance, rigor, and relationships.
And then you mentioned this was the first of several or a few equity walks?
This was our first one that we've done, and we hope to use it as springboard to use at other schools in the future.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions from the board?
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you to everyone on the team for doing the walk, and of course for the teachers and students for having those doors open. Any comments, questions or comments from the audience? Any on email?
Nothing on email.
Okay, thank you for that report. Next is item 9B, discussion regarding updates on the LCAP.
Right, well, thank you so much, and I always just have to make sure that's on, even though I don't know that anybody can hear me anyway. But I'm really happy to talk about this topic tonight, and it really is, I think, something that has been a needed conversation for a long time, but it started last year with a discussion about students who we had in special education who could not be reclassified or redesignated because they had a special education interest that was conflicting with obtaining information about their English language. And so last year, we took an entire year to rebuild the reclassification for students in special education. And I'm happy to report that Erica Marquez at the middle school level was able to use that tool with nearly 20 students this year who will be redesignated and reclassified because of the employment and the design of that tool. What came out of that building of that tool also illuminated some more information. And that is, do we have a disproportionate number of students in special education because there's a linguistic issue that we're not aware of properly, right? We're not measuring it properly. And so we have done a lot of research. We did a lot of research last year. We were able to, for free, connect with Imperial County, who are the lead in the country in terms of their SELPA English learner programs, mutual programs. I reached out to them last summer and I said, this is a truth we're seeing. We need to talk about it. We need to talk openly about it. And we need to really consider some systems change for it. They were so happy to be asked to partner with us. And so Deborah Montoya, Lupita Olguin, and Vanessa Lopez offered their training services to our administrative team this year. They actually designed 4 modules to dive into some documents and some structures and systems to help us look at our system differently. We're going to be continuing to do some work with them into next year. And again, they are offering their services to us for free. Out of care and interest for all students. I will say it's really built a higher level awareness about our processes. And I think that's in many districts, it's, process is only as good as the construction and the discussion about why that process exists and continuing to take a look at it to improve it. And so what I'm hopeful for by the end of this year is that we will see more reclassified students. We'll be able to see a different way of students entering into our special education population with an attention to their linguistic needs. And hopefully we will not see a continued disproportionate amount of students that are English learners in our special education programs. So it is a journey. We're starting the journey. We have a very intentional and passionate interest in doing what's right. And we have found really good partners to do that with. Next year, as we expand our learning, we're hoping to include more of our staff in this series. We've talked to Deborah and Lupita about that, and they're like, bring everybody, it'd be great. So that's definitely something that we'd like to take a look at, and we're really excited about that work.
Thank you. Bring it back to questions or comments from the board.
Well, thank you for the presentation. Sounds great. Sounds old.
I'm sorry. I'm just going to ask, I hope it's a simple question, but I just want to make sure I'm understanding it correctly. So could you give like a scenario of like the mistake, that was happening before, like a little bit of a real world hypothetical?
Yeah, I mean, at first I wouldn't classify it as a mistake.
Thank you.
Right?
Yes.
I would say that the way that we take in information about students is heightened with different processes.
Okay.
And so as an example, we may have a student who has very low productive language in any language. And given the past process, it was hard to determine, is this a language issue? Is this a special education consideration? Is it some of both? And this systemic work is helping us tease that out differently, so that we do it the right way, right? And so I think through this process, what we're finding is, and especially through the reclassification process, especially the ones that have come kind of through Erica Marquez and into my office with some kind of deep learning, is that we're measuring students in their primary language, and we're measuring them in their English language, and we're saying, like, is their production the same in both? If it's the same in both, it tells us something. If it's different in each, it's telling us something. And so that's just a way of kind of really refining our system about understanding the linguistic obstacle that we may not have considered in that way before. Does that make sense?
Yes, no, that's super helpful. I really appreciate that. Anything else from the board? No? Okay. Any questions or comments from the audience? Yes.
Yeah, I just wanted to say that I think that this is extremely important. Reclassification for students with IEPs that are classified as English language learners has been kind of an ongoing challenge for many years. We've gone through different iterations of ways to solve that, and I'm just extremely pleased that we do it now have a system for that. Big shout out to Erica for doing so much work of legwork of making that happen, because I've seen it. And you know, it can go both ways. I've seen students where you know, their status as an English language learner might make an IEP assessment swing one way because their language skills are so low. And I've also seen cases where students, as Jessica said, just have low productive language skills due to their disability, and as a result are never able to requalify as English language proficient, even if they might not even speak any language besides English. And so it's extremely important, just for the sake of equity and for those for serving those students, that we have that process in place. So thank you, Jessica. Thank you, Erica, for making it happen.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you. Any other comments?
I'll just acknowledge that Barbara and in our audience today, people on like TV
Thanks, Barbara, too.
somewhere,
I didn't mean to leave you
like,
out.
see them out there, but two amazingly integral parts of this system.
Absolutely. Thank you both. Yeah. Anything out there in Zoom land? Any emails? No emails. Okay. Thank you. All right. Thank you again. We're going to roll on to our action items. So item 10A, consider approval of the CSEA tentative agreement and AB 12 public disclosure of the collective bargaining agreement.
I'm very excited to bring this to the board this evening. This tentative agreement with CSEA chapter. I was a very collaborative approach. I appreciate, I really just appreciate the negotiation sessions that we've been able to have and try to come to some solutions on a very difficult topic. And so I feel that the TA that was signed and ratified by the union and now presented to the board fairly represents what we have been discussing over the last month or so. Part of this is the signed TA, which affects the articles, as you'll see in there, which articles were Article 6 pain allowance, Article 2.6 CalPERS, Article 6.8 longevity, Article 18 layoffs, Article 19 evaluations, and Article 10 vacation. I'd just like to add, under Article 10 vacation, there is a notation, the parties agreed to table this article in complete negotiations no later than 5/13/22. This was a discussion that this particular article only impacted 9 of our employees. And so we collaboratively worked to just kind of talk to those employees and explain the impact of what they might want to do. And ultimately, they decided to leave the contract as is, with a minor adjustment in language, which I'll be bringing to the board in an MOU. And so also attached to this, which is required when entering into tentative agreement and any compensation is affected in any way, AB 1200 is to be completed and approved by the board. This has already gone to the County Office of Education and they've approved the AB 1200. And basically what this says is the affected unit, in this particular case, CSEA, the compensation package that's being offered, the district can afford in the multi-year projections, given what was negotiated and ratified. And so all of that is represented along with the revised multi-year projections from second interim, which was presented to you. So the multi-year projections have not changed from second interim, only the impact to the 2s and 3s, thousands, and that's the impact of the salary increase. And so I presented this to the board this evening for approval.
All right, thank you. Questions, comments from the board?
So I'm looking at the numbers. And these have to be approved by the County Office of Education?
Yes.
And if they don't, then we have to redo it?
To be honest with you, I've not encountered that before, so I'm not sure what the process is. I do know that the county would have significant weigh-in if they feel that anything is being negotiated that the district cannot fiscally afford. I had many conversations with both the assistant superintendent of the COE and the executive director of the COE in regards to our AB 1200 and going over these figures to make sure that they're accurately representing not only what, you know, the actual accounting numbers are, but what the spirit and intent of the TA is to make sure that that's just accurately accounted for.
So on the combined general fund multi-year, on my page 72, we believe that the COE will allow the $1.1 million of over spending next year?
For deficit spending. So you kind of have to break it down into two parts. It's what we can afford from our current ending fund balance, as long as we're positive in our third year out in our ending fund balance. Even though we're deficit spending in the next year, the district has known it will be deficit spending for multiple years due to the pandemic and the impacts of that, specifically in regards to the general fund. And so hence why our reserves are as large as they are, because of the anticipated now it was 1 million, now roughly 1.1 million deficit spending over our projected revenue. And again, these numbers are from second interim because I have to use the latest board approved financial records when presenting an AB 1200.
All right, thank you.
Any other questions from the board? And you did say the COE had approved this, right?
Yes.
Okay, nothing else from me. Any questions, comments from the audience? Yes.
I try not to talk too much. Sorry if I am. I just wanted to clarify one thing from what Phil had asked. When we are bringing deals like this to the COE, are they able to take into account new updates to our financial picture since multi-year projections? Since the multi-year projections came out in March, we have a revised that comes out now. Is the COE able to take into account the more recent financial picture when approving these kinds of deals?
For AB 1200 specifically,
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I'm sorry. For the
Didn't
AB
mean to-
1200 specifically, what they're approving has to be based on the last board approved budget, which would in this case be second interim. And so you always fall back on what was last approved unless there's something significant to change. But right now, since nothing is in legislation approved and or approved by the board, we fall back onto second interim.
Thank you for the question, for the clarification. Did we have any questions or comments on email?
We do not.
Okay, all right. If we don't have anything else from the board, then I'm ready to entertain a motion.
I move.
All right, motion to approve the tentative agreement and AB 1200 public disclosure. Do I have a
I'll
second?
second.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay.
Awesome. Thank you very much.
And then we'll go on to our next related item. Consider approval of the CSEA Joint Collective Bargaining Agreement proposal for negotiations with the district for the 2022-23 school year.
Yes, I'm very excited to bring the board tonight the sunshine for 22-23 for CSEA. Now that we have concluded and ratified and board approved our tentative agreement, we're going into a open contract year. This was June 30th, 2022, excuse me, all my twos, was the end of the current CBA. And so now the contract is fully opened. We worked collaboratively, we worked collaboratively with CSEA and their representation and the articles that they would like to open, even though, just so the board is aware, it is an open contract year. So They don't actually have to specifically name the articles, but these are the ones that they currently would like to address. Hours and overtime, pay and allowance, health and welfare, I'm sorry, excuse me, Article 15, professional growth, and Article 24, duration. And duration would be to create a new 3-year contract, which is typical for a CBA. And so I'm very excited. We already have negotiations set up for pretty much the day after school ends. And so everybody's coming back and so we can begin. The CSEA regional representation is going to be retiring soon. And so at the end of June. And so they had a great desire to open negotiations as soon as possible.
Okay. Thank you so much. Questions, comments from the board? Okay. Any questions, comments from the audience? Yeah, and do you mind just either projecting really loudly or coming forward? Yeah, and I've just heard feedback that sometimes on the video, people can't hear it. So you've got a great teacher voice.
Did I hear you say that all the good news that Scott, that you mentioned and that people have alluded to, maybe, but you said something, Michelle, about not being legislation, and so then the county, so does that mean, I'm not a negotiator, so I'm not gonna be in the room. I just want to understand, are you saying that all of that, we can't take that into consideration at the table? Is this appropriate to ask at the table? You're saying we can't? I don't understand that. Is this an appropriate question?
You can ask a question. It's whether or not we can answer, right? So.
I just like to point out that this isn't actually regarding this open item on the agenda. What your question is specifically referencing. But what I can say is nothing is off the table when working in negotiations. That is the point of negotiations, right? To be able to both sides bring everything that they know and have to the table. In reference to the specific contract that was just signed, that specifically is based on what we know legislatively. Like we know what the COLA was as second interim. We know what our fund balance is right now. So that negotiation has to be based on that. Now, opening 22-23 negotiations, what we're doing on this item, then we start talking about what's being proposed for next year. And that is all the great news that's in the news right now. And that is all for next year, not for 21-22. And that's the year we just closed.
Okay. All right, thank you.
I don't want to be elusive, Alana, I'm sorry.
Okay. All right, thank you. Where were we on that one now? We did motion. Did we have a motion yet? But we're at the point of making a motion. Did we check for email comments? I'm so sorry.
We do not have an email comment in regards to this particular article, but we have an email comment on a prior article regarding the Justice Task Force that is actually very lovely.
Which of course plays no consideration into it. Was that email sent recently or was it sent when we were discussing? Any idea?
It was sent in the last 3 minutes.
Okay, yeah, so maybe that can be sent to the board as something to read later, but we won't read it at this point if that's okay.
Yep.
Thank you. So that we can stay on task here. So had our discussion, questions have been answered. So I'll call for a motion to approve the CSEA Joint Collective Bargaining Agreement proposal, AKA Sunshine, for negotiations with the district for 2022.
I'll make the
23.
motion.
I'm just gonna blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
Okay, Ted made the motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Motion passes.
Thank you, board.
Thank you, and congratulations on 10A and 10B. Next up is item 10C, annual item here. Consider approval of declaration of need for fully qualified educators.
Thank you, Board President Jackson Miller. As you said, this declaration is one that we bring forth annually and is a common practice among school districts. It provides flexibility in filling hard to fill teaching positions, not limited to, but such as special education, single subject math and science, for example. These are positions that are often hard to fill across the county and the state. The declaration allows for potential use of emergency credentials to teachers who may wish to teach in areas not listed on their credentials. We may not necessarily use this option for all the areas listed in the declaration, but if the board adopts it, we then have the option to do so. This tool truly is about flexibility for school districts, not a watering down of standards. We've had many excellent teachers in our own district take this route. For example, math teachers who started off with multiple subject credentials, but found their true calling as single subject math teachers. It's for all these reasons that I asked the board to consider approving the declaration of need for fully qualified educators.
Thank you. Any questions or comments from the board? Questions or comments from the audience? And any on email on this item? An email. Okay. Thank you. I'll consider a motion then. Anyone have a motion to approve our declaration of need for fully qualified educators? Carolyn makes a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Phil seconds. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? No. Okay. Thank you. Motion passes. Next, we are on to item 10D, consider approval of our school district motto, mission statement, and commitment.
So as you know, we had a mission statement Kickstarter team made up of a cross-section of the district. And a couple of board meetings ago, I brought you a rough draft to get your input of the motto, mission statement, and commitments that team developed. As usual, you gave us really good food for thought. And in this attachment with the updated draft, you should see that input acted on. For example, in the mission statement, the word diverse is now describing the word world and not member. In the mission statement, the members of the school district are once again spelled out: staff, students, parents, and community. The role of students develops is now an active word, not passive. The specific concept of achievement, and it was once again reflected in the mission statement. The commitment statement about teaching and learning has been moved to the top of that list, and a commitment has been added, emphasizing the importance of learning styles. So we think the Kickstarter team provided a great foundation on which to build on. We've taken your input and built that back in. And now I ask you to consider approving our new updated mission statement along with the motto and commitments.
Okay, thank you so much. Questions or comments from the board?
The translation in Spanish, has that been done by Lily or by, yes? I like the changes.
Just a little crazy question. Had any past board members emailed or chimed in on the mission statement? I'm just thinking about, sometimes they pay attention to the agenda and I guess not.
Well, I know a
Silent.
couple of board members who stay very in tune, previous board members who stay very in tune, and they have not contacted me about it. And I know that they would if they had something to contribute.
They were dismantling their previous work.
Yes.
Everything needs to be freshened up.
Exactly.
Any other questions or comments from the board?
I enjoy the process of continual improvement.
Well stated, well stated. And thank you for making the changes that we discussed last time. I really appreciate the changes. I love the motto. I love that we've got this nice colorful presentation with equal space for English and Spanish. I think it's really fantastic. So thank you to you and your entire team for all of the work on this.
Absolutely.
Any questions from the audience or comments? I keep thinking I hear a bird in here. There may be one. Yeah.
Just that I like the changes that you suggested last time, and yeah, I think it's really good. Really like it. That's all.
Thank
For
you.
being part of.
Because you asked.
Anything on email on this item? Nothing on email. Thank you for continuing to check. I appreciate it.
Actually, just, yeah, a thank you, because what's put together here is not an easy task. You could think, okay, there's, 4 words here. I mean, how long does it take really to come up with the wording here? So you look at a mission statement and one may think it's, they just, blurted this out, over a cup of coffee, but no, it is a long process. So thank you.
Every word matters.
It's a very emotional, those were emotional statements. Those aren't factual, kind of things. So when there's emotion involved, everybody has theirs.
Gets to the why of being here, right?
Yeah, yeah. Okay, so with all of that, do we have a motion to approve our new district motto, mission statement and commitment?
I'll make the motion.
All right.
I'll second.
Carolyn seconds. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, thank you. Thank you. This is actually
Very
really exciting.
I can't wait to make the posters.
Posters, we're gonna update the agenda. Oh my gosh. No, this is really, really nice. So thank you. Okay, next, item 10E, board reorganization, elect a vice president.
Yeah, so as we know, we have Callie as a part of our team now. Callie filled in for the seat that was vacated by Jennifer Azant Gonzalez. And at the time that she vacated the seat, she was serving as vice president. And so I thought it was time that we nominate and select a new vice president. So I will see if anybody has a nomination to put on the table.
I'd like to nominate Ted.
I'm happy to second that nomination.
Okay.
Any other nominations that anyone would like to put forward? Ted, do you accept the nomination?
Happy to finish out the year.
Through December.
Almost there.
Any discussion, comments from the board on the nomination? Okay, any questions from the audience? No? Any emails on this?
Nothing on
Thank you.
email.
Okay, so we have a nomination. This is great. I'm gonna miss the rest of the meetings now and just put Ted in charge of the bus and no, just kidding. I have an almost perfect attendance record. So we've got a nomination and acceptance. So I think we need to make a motion
I move.
to appoint Ted Donnelly as vice president, and Phil moves.
I'll
and
second.
Carolyn seconds. All in favor?
Aye.
Do I get the vote?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. I hope you do. All in favor?
Yeah.
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Any
Yeah.
opposed? No. Okay, not opposed. All right. Thank you. Thank you, team. Thanks for getting us back with a vice president. I do appreciate that. And then we'll move on to our next and final action item here. Consider approving the board committee appointments for the 2022 calendar year.
So in a similar vein, the areas that Jen was serving on before she stepped down for committees was that she was the primary person for the Chamber of Commerce. And then she served as an alternate for 2 district committees, the Racial Justice Task Force and the Fiscal Prioritization Team. So I wanted to see if we could fill those slots on our committees to make sure that we stay engaged.
And do you mind just giving a little
Yes.
description of each one?
Yeah, Chamber of Commerce obviously is working with Chamber of Commerce and their business interests and how it overlaps with everything good in the community and providing students an opportunity to, with careers in mind and that sort of item. The Racial Justice Task Force, I described tonight, some of the work that gets done there and our continuing equity journey, and it's being a contributing member and learning and growing with us. And it's often a nice overlap by serving on the governance team and the task force to see how similar work is reinterpreted for different groups. And the Fiscal Prioritization Team was started a couple of years ago, actually kind of around the time of COVID when it first hit, and we thought we were looking at 10% cuts to our budget. That's before we knew that the life preservers of ESSER and other funds were coming along. And we wanted to have a cross-section team of the district to look and make goals with what we thought were going to be diminishing resources and making sure that we made those financial decisions with everybody's voice at the table.
Thank you. Any other questions, comments from the board, or anyone would anybody like to?
I'd like to volunteer for the Chamber of Commerce position.
Great.
Are they meeting now?
I don't know. I need to double check on that.
Yeah, that's good. Thank you.
Yeah, I will say I was either the primary or the alternate on that one at one point, and it was a little challenging sometimes finding out about the meeting. So it'd be great, that might be something we can work with Scott or Linda on, just figuring out if they're in person, if they're in Zoom. It used to be that it was once a month, and it would typically be like a luncheon. But it's neat. I mean, there are great presentations by county supervisors, nonprofit organizations, et cetera. And it's a good chance to connect and talk to people about district issues. So thank you.
And you get up and you do your spiel to your district.
When you're ready for that. But it's really neat way to connect with folks. So thank you for that. And then we have alternate spots available, which not required, but helpful.
Right.
Is that kind of
Exactly.
okay?
Yep.
On the Racial Justice Task Force and the Fiscal Prioritization Team. Now, as far as the Racial Justice Task Force, I don't think we have any meetings scheduled
We
right
don't
now.
have anything on the calendar. right now.
Okay, and then.
And it's an
fencing-
evolving group
Mhm.
and, so rather, the first couple of years was a lot of information gathering. Now they're more into action subcommittees. So it would be stepping into one of those subcommittees. Or maybe part of kind of a learning curve, but I'm sure somebody could be a contributing member.
And then same thing with the Fiscal Prioritization Team, no meetings on
Is that?
calendar
gonna
yet?
keep- Well, from what you stated, Scott, is the fiscal team going to continue?
Yes, we will get that back gathered and
Okay.
and meeting
All right.
for sure. Just been a little bit of a busy time.
I'd like to be the alternate for the fiscal
Okay.
prioritization
Awesome.
team.
Thank you. Okay. Would anyone like to be an alternate on the Racial Justice Task Force? If not, we do have two board members on it, so we're
Mhm.
okay. But if anyone
Oh,
would like
really?
to,
Oh, okay.
if anyone would like to,
Oh.
you're welcome to join. Anyone?
Previously, Amanda and Jennifer had shared a seat so that if one couldn't come, the other did. So that would kind of be in that thing.
Right. So right now.
If no one
Carolyn
else
and I-
wants it, I'll be the alternate for the Racial Justice Task Force.
Okay, great. Thank you. I was not in any way trying to
Okay.
pressure you, but
Didn't
awesome.
want to take all the good stuff.
Fantastic. Thank you very much, Kelly, for volunteering to take over so many of these spots. So we've got some appointments on the table here. Anyone else? Anything on that? I'll check and see if we have any comments from the audience. Nothing in person, no emails
Nothing on email.
received. Fantastic. I would happily entertain a motion for Callie Edmondson to be appointed to the Capital SoCal Chamber of Commerce and the alternate for Racial Justice Task Force and the Fiscal Prioritization Team. Do I have a motion?
I'll make the motion.
Thank you very much. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Great. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Thank you again.
Yeah. Thank you so much,
Thank you,
Callie.
Callie.
It's a great way to learn more. So thank you. Okay. Cora, so done with 10F. Next item would be correspondence. If we had received any correspondence to report out, does anyone have any correspondence?
So I received two emails. One was regarding negotiations and the other one was a request for district salary information. So I want to thank leadership for taking care of those.
Okay, thank you. Anything else? Okay. Future agenda items as requested by trustees. You can either request items here or you can always reach out anytime. Doesn't only have to be a meeting, but does anyone have anything they want to bring up now?
At some point in time, could we get maybe in the Friday update or something, a short discussion of, you're gonna laugh, the accounting principle of conservatism?
Conservatism. Yes.
I do not see that as an agenda item, but.
No,
Friday update makes a lot of sense.
I think it's
That's-
information.
That's not an agenda item, but okay.
You didn't just make that up.
Well, we
All
don't
right.
know if it's gonna be agenda item. That's for you guys to decide.
Okay, all right. Do I have a motion for adjournment?
I move.
A second. Okay, all in favor? We are adjourning open session at 7:54 PM.
Aye.
Oh, yeah, sorry. Any public comment?